What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone is doing well. This little mini series with the Orlando Magic is now wrapped up, and what do you know? The Celtics go 2-0, another home win. This homestand in general is pretty impressive, going 5-0 against, not the top teams in the East, but some decently talented teams between the Knicks, the Cavs, and the Orlando Magic. Again, 5-0 in this little homestand, but 14-0 overall at home this year. I think they said that's the best home start since the 1956-1957 season. I know it's early in the year, but this team, it looks like they're, doing some historic things. I don't want to jinx anything, but that's the trajectory they're going on. If you were just to look at the final score of the last two games, you might think to yourself, yeah, those probably weren't the most entertaining games to watch, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. These two teams in these two games were ultra competitive, and I thought Jaylen Brown said it the best. After the first game, he went on to say, yeah, that was the biggest win of the season. I mean, when in years past would you hear this Celtics team talk about the Magic and say, yeah, that was our best win so far? I think the physicality of these two games impressed me the most, especially coming from the Magic end, because, when there's young teams with not too many vets on it, they could oftentimes get punked, but the Magic are they're no punks. They bring the physicality. They use their big bodies. They make it hard for everybody. But let's get into some Celtics talk here. I don't want to sound repetitive. I hate to sound repetitive. I think it's only right that we start with Jaylen Brown again. There's no doubt in my mind that this stretch that he's on is the best basketball of his career. It feels like he is taking pieces from each portion of his career and really putting them together and becoming a complete player. Those early days in Boston, he was known as a 3-and-D guy. He was projected to be one of the best wing defenders in the league. And I'm sure you guys remember the defense drops off a little bit because he has to pick up the load in the offensive end. But what does he do? He becomes a 20-point scorer. Then he becomes a 24 per game point scorer. Then last year he gets up to 27 points per game. And Jaylen is a well-rounded player. In a lot of areas of the game, he doesn't have much room to improve because he's already so elite. But I think the last final big leap we'll see him make is his playmaking. And that's what we're starting to see. Shout out to ESPN when they put out that graphic with the 0 assists. Ever since then, he's had 4 or more assists in each of those games. I shouldn't say it's just playmaking involved in that leap. It's decision making as a whole. It's Jaylen knowing, when to push the ball out in transition, when to take that pull-up transition 3, when to, drive the ball into traffic. And I think, another big aspect of this is the poise he's developed. Sometimes he would get those matchups he's liked in the past and he would rush things and lose the ball. But now there's just, a maturity level about him where he gets the matchup, gets a smaller guy on him or gets a slower guy on him and just takes advantage of him. A lot of people have been harsh on JB when it comes to his playmaking and decision making, and some of it was rightfully so, but I think for the most part, it went way too far. But I think at the end of the day, it came from a good place because we all know what he's capable of, and he's starting to put that on display and really put it all together. The defense, the scoring, the decision making. And personally, I was one of those people who wasn't too harsh on him. I wasn't too critical because I was just accepting who he was as a player, and that means accepting his flaws, right? This guy is not the greatest playmaker, decision maker. That's okay. He's an elite bucket getter. So that was always my expectations for him. So he never let me down. This guy just gets buckets. But now that we are seeing other consistencies within his game, the defense, the decision making, just overall thinking the game better, making more right reads, I have to hold him to a higher standard now. The bar gets raised as you get better. But yeah, Jaylen Brown definitely earns player of the game. That fourth quarter explosion was it was something to watch, those 16 points, and not doing it just from one area of the floor either, doing it from all 3 levels, getting to the rim at will, picking on people in the mid-range in that pull-up 3. I really didn't know we would talk about Jaylen Brown for so long, but let me just say one last thing about him. I love the attitude that he's playing with. He's playing with the tenacity, a ferociousness that this team needs at times because, their star player, Jason Tatum, can be a little bit too stoic for my liking at times. It seems like Jaylen Brown is taking on that role as an emotional leader and people are following along. He's out there every night trying to prove something and people are following along. This team has so much talent and I'm sure they recognize that, but there's no complacency there. They're out there every night keeping their foot on the gas. Again, since we talked about 1J, let's talk about the other. We'll talk about Tatum. The bar for him is so high. He had a decent game tonight, 23 points, 3 assists, 8 rebounds, but there were just a lot of things in this homestand that I didn't really like from him. There's so many things he's elite at, and this year he's shown, getting to the rim, taking advantage of mismatches, and just getting to the free throw line has been something he's been phenomenal at. But it seems like recently he's been falling more back into bad habits. The main habit I have a problem with, and listen, it hasn't been the whole year, just this little home stretch, has been this shot selection, the bad threes. Tonight he shot the 3-ball well, 4 for 6, but overall, the bad threes, and then tonight specifically, those tough mid-range turnaround jumpers, not over Cole Anthony or Jalen Suggs, because those are good shots. You're shooting over small guys, but over Paolo, over Franz, it's just not a great shot for the team. Again, the bar for Tatum is so high, so I'm nitpicking here, but it just feels like those are bailout shots. I understand he's a tough shot taker, a tough shot maker, but we've seen this year, like, this guy can get to the rim at will. He has a little bit of extra burst, extra speed this year where he drops his shoulders and he's gone. So I don't understand those really tough low percentage shots he takes sometimes. Another takeaway from tonight's game is Porzingis is back, and the thing I liked from him the most was actually the physicality aspect of the game. He's 7'3", he's pretty thin, so there are times out there where he just gets moved off his spot or he just gets attacked at the midsection. It's easy to move him back. But tonight, the Magic went at him, and I thought he just embraced physicality. He embraced contact the whole game, and that's just promising to see. Talk about the bench a little bit. Al was as solid as ever, scoring 8 points, grabbing 8 boards, and we'll move on to Pritchard too because he deserves it. The other episode I said Pritchard's main role was to score off this bench because he had 21 points, and it was super impressive. But tonight, he didn't score that much, but I thought his impact was felt. He was a +10 when he was on the floor. He only had 5 points, but he was doing other things out there. He had a nice blocker steal and transition on Franz Wagner, and then he had 6 boards and 3 assists. It was just an overall well-rounded effort from Peyton Pritchard. My feelings on Pritchard throughout the season have fluctuated drastically throughout the year. There are times when I'm like, all right, if this guy's one of your main bench rotation players, can you win a championship with him? Other times I'm like, yeah, definitely. Other times like, I don't know. But then on the other hand, it's like the top 6 is so great. If they really need all these pieces, are they really that great? I don't know. What do you guys think about Pritchard? Is he part of a championship rotation? Overall, just a really great game from this team. They came out slow, but really flipped the script there thanks to Jaylen. This is no slight to the Magic fans or the Magic team because I love the Magic team and I think all those young guys are highly coveted, but after watching these 2 games, I think it's safe to say that those 4 or 3 straight games that the Celtics lost to this team, they just didn't really show up. Like, we see what this Celtics team looks like when they show up, but that's no excuse. You got to show up to every game no matter who you play. So you could feel when a Celtics team is playing Celtics basketball, and it feels like this team is on the cusp of just really embodying that. Anyway, homestand over. This team goes on a West Coast road trip to face all those LA teams: Golden State, Sac, Clippers, Los Angeles Lakers on Christmas Day. Should be amazing. I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe. It's the best and easiest way to support. I'm here after every single Celtics game, all 82 plus. I'm not going anywhere. I will talk to you guys Tuesday, December 19th. Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Peace.